Welcome back, everyone. And in this module, we're going to continue our conversation about information design and introduce to you one of the most effective ways of communicating through data visualization. Data visualization is an interesting practice, but one that you see almost every day of your lives. A way to display data and information in a more visual way, through context, using color, using symbols. One of the most prominent ways of showing data is through charts. They're a very common way of actually visualizing data. And there are many types of these charts, but most commonly we see bar charts, pie or donut charts, and line charts. Charts and graphs are things that we were introduced to as children in mathematics. And that data visualization and those points should be quite familiar even from that context. Let's talk a little bit more about these charts. Bar charts are very versatile. They can illustrate change over time. They can be used to compare categories or compare parts to a whole. And when you have a complex set of information, a list just won't cut it, and data visualization becomes quite important. When considering the type of data visualization, you need to think about the quantity and what you're actually showing juxtaposed against another point of information. In bar charts, some tips are to start with the y-axis at 0, use horizontal labeling instead of vertical, and use uniform color unless color has a specific meaning. Like in any interface, make sure that color does have some sort of specific indication. And in the form of data visualization, color should also have a relative way of informing information, mostly illustrated by the use of a legend. Here's a great example of data visualization in the digital space where this designer utilized a bar chart. The top-selling Girl Scout cookies nationally. And also, he used color to illustrate the specific signifiers. This is a great example of data visualization coupled with information sent, where the label itself may not have a clear indication to users. That simple visual cue allows users to quickly understand the subject matter being discussed. Here's a great data visualization of a bar chart that uses the product itself. If you have a linear product that allows you to illustrate it in the form of data visualization, something like a battery can be amazing. Pie charts are best for small data sets and for comparing categories of data to a whole. Some tips: ensure that your categories add up to 100% and use no more than 5 categories per chart. I'm sure you've all seen data visualization where a pie chart has 7, 8, 9, 10 elements. That becomes overly complicated in the digital space. This may be okay for corporate or financial reporting, but for quick, scannable, snackable content on the web, stick to something a little simpler. Here are a few examples of pie charts. On the left, we see a breakdown of comfort food that come to mind for female college students. And on the right, we see a comparative breakdown of comfort food for male college students. These data visualizations include both text as indication, but use information sent or signifiers like iconography. They also use color as a signifier that is supported by a legend that displays what the color indicates. And here's an example of where a pie chart is absolutely the incorrect choice for a data viz exercise. Too many results with too little data per product. Too many results really don't do justice to this medium. Line charts are another good chart for data visualization, and they're used to show time series relationships with continuous data. They help to show a trend, acceleration or deceleration, and volatility. A line chart should use solid lines and plot no more than 4 lines per chart. In this example, we see 4 lines juxtaposed against each other, where the X and Y axis indicate timeline versus specific quantities. And in this line chart, we see 2 juxtaposed data sets that complement each other across a specific timeline on the X-axis and quantity on the Y-axis. A few words of caution about data visualization. It's quite easy to go overboard and use the wrong convention. In this example, we see just too much, an information overload of sorts for users that link together a number of visualizations that don't have any sort of context. One thing to keep in mind during information design is that data visualization is in fact storytelling. Products don't always require complex data visualization. It's nonetheless important to consider how the data you do include, from a product table to a size chart, communicates with your users. Also, you don't have to visualize data, but it helps. It helps a boring page with only text become more interesting. It takes a list of items and makes them a little bit more engaging. You should ask yourself the question, does visualizing data in a particular way boost your users' comprehension of it? And if the answer is no, don't do it. For example, this is probably one of the most confusing data visualizations I've seen in a while. While eventually you'll get it by staring close enough, it's really difficult at first glance to understand what we're looking at. There simply is too much information to be found here. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, the design and data visualization used here is quite compelling. It's clear, it's simple, it's indicative of exactly what the user expects, and the signifiers like color and iconography here are quite helpful. And you can't say anything bad about clarity. In data visualization, size sometimes matters, but clarity matters even more. It doesn't matter how obvious and large something is if it doesn't indicate what you're trying to convey. And alone, without context, this might not mean anything to anyone. And without seeing the actual elevator to the left of this data visualization, I wouldn't say that there's anything that would tell me that that's what this means. So make sure that you think through every data visualization that you encounter. That's a quick overview of data visualization. We'll see you in the next module.